let me ask you a question. Do you think you can have a heroic character who's also a racist, maybe a bigot, a sexist? What do you think? The short answer for me is yes, it's possible. And let's dive into it. You see, at the end of the day, there is certain attributes associated with heroic characters. The willingness to self-sacrifice, the ability to put others in front of themselves, and the having the attributes that allow them to stand up against evil, fight the bad guys, take the risks, and do what it takes to beat the bad guys. Well, can you have all those attributes but still have some sort of underlying hate for another group of people? I would say it depends. And what I mean by that is if we look at a personality of anybody, at the top of the personality is kind of their identity, who they are, what they believe in, the values they hold, the capabilities that they have. A lot of that determines whether or not they can be a hero, whether or not they will have those admirable qualities that allow them to be heroic. Well, as you get to the bottom part of that list, which is some of the traits that they may hold, some of those traits are simply imperfect. That means that, for example, if you were a World War II veteran coming back from seeing your friends and buddies get killed by the Japanese, you may have some bigoted thoughts against the Japanese. That means that if you're a cop, let's just be frank, you may hold certain beliefs against certain races of people. And I think what we do is we basically whitewash all of those attributes to make these kind of bland personalities with heroes. We say, well, a hero is somebody who believes every single person should be treated the same and everybody is the same, and that you don't hold any negative views against any group of people. Ideally, yeah. And a great example of that would be Captain America, Superman, Batman. Those are people who you would look up. They're the ideal humans that people seek to be. But the interesting characters, I think about a character like Dirty Harry. Dirty Harry from the Harry Callahan movies back in the day, which was Clint Eastwood playing the role of a cop, but the things he says, he makes racist jokes, he makes sexist jokes, he's obviously a misogynist, he doesn't like certain groups of people, it's quite obvious, but he's a hero, right? He goes out, he does what's right, he stands up against the corruption of society, the police force, a lot of different things, and he still does the right thing. And that's kind of the key. He's always willing to do the right thing, even though he holds certain beliefs. So I think that's how you can make this possible. And the other side of this is it gives characters a reason to evolve. It's bland. Again, I talk about this a lot. It's basically, you got to have flaws to overcome. You've got to have growth. You've got to have a story arc that takes that into account. Otherwise, you're just bland. If you are a character and you hold these, the beliefs of kind of being perfect and treat everybody the same and that stuff, it's great, but there's no room to grow. What's interesting is when you have an edge, when you have some controversial thoughts, when you have thoughts that people actually look at you and they go, that's not right. You shouldn't have those thoughts, right? Because it gives you the opportunity to explore different stories as well. If you hate a certain group of people, but you have to team up with somebody from that group of people in order to fight a greater evil, that's a great storyline that you might have. If you have to do something that helps a certain group of people that you hold negative beliefs about, it creates almost like a moral dilemma that character now has to make decisions on. So obviously, we don't want to go to the extreme. I don't think somebody can be heroic who is, a celebrated neo-Nazi or a member of the KKK or any of that stuff. But what I do think is, I think it's important that we remember that characters should have a backstory, certain beliefs, certain traits that may be less than admirable, not only for them to overcome and to work through, but just to make them have an interesting edge. Anyhow, like I said, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think.